Hey guys, alright, so it's been a while and wanted to get a new video up. So we actually have some bases here.
So, I was recently asked by a friend of mine.
Because he has real friends, guys. It's not just me, I swear.
I had posted on Facebook the story of the Senate proposing a bill for a nationwide concealed carry law. I support such a law for the most part. There are good reasons to have caution, but overall, I think one law guiding all 50 states on this issue is better than 50 states having their own law. Normally I'm totally the other way around. I'm a big proponent of the 10th Amendment and states' rights. However, we already have a Second Amendment. So, before we get into all that, the question is, why do I support the Senate law for 50-state concealed carry?
Now, as a backlog here, we don't claim to be experts in it.
We're not experts.
This is all our own personal views and opinions, but please leave your comments below, because it gives me an amusement to see that people apparently find me entertaining, besides me. Two, this is the first I heard of it, so he was literally like, hey, my friend
Tell you what, go ahead, I'm going to pull up the story, we'll read an excerpt.
Okay. So, just off the bat, hearing this, I have glanced through the news. I have not read all the coverage, forgive my hair, it's long and unruly, much like our current federal government. And this is specifically why I'm initially slightly against this. I heard about this, and I'm a little apprehensive for a couple of reasons. Number one, just off the bat, anytime you bring in federal oversight, you're bringing in the feds to oversight. So if you create a law under which federal mandate is creating a unilateral 50-state parameter law mandate function where there's reciprocity, you're cutting out state control, which is never good, but B, you're bringing in federal government control. Essentially, they will have the authority to regulate it. And I never like the feds coming in. Right, it's never good. I err on the side of small government. Okay, guys?
I want to interject here.
Yeah, fair enough.
Generally, I agree 110%. We don't want.
You can only agree 100%. 100% is the max that you can agree. Where's the 10 coming from?
Shut up. I do not think the government needs its paws in any more pies. I don't want the government setting the parameters for the right that they would have now granted us. That some judge somewhere will, in some way, rule that had the government not granted us this right, the right wouldn't be inherent. The way we believe our rights are inherent. So, generally, I err on the side of states' rights. I don't want the government involved. But in this case, the government supposedly already grants us the right to bear arms.
It recognizes. That's the... Hold on. This is important. Let me address this. Because actually...
The Second Amendment.
This becomes a point of contention because and again, I'm not talking semantics, but we have to define terms. The government does not grant us a right. The Bill of Rights is not an enumeration of granted privileges. It is a statement outlining to government inherent existent rights.
That supposedly these are what Obama once called negative rights, what government can't do
and here's the
on
thing.
Your behalf.
The idea is this is enumerating the limitation for government. It's not government granting to us. The Second Amendment is not the government saying you can have guns. It's the framers, or founding fathers, God, please, founding fathers, they are saying this is already an inherent right. You can't touch this.
And yet
I bring you to the 10th Amendment.
We have decades.
Rights here not enumerated are left to the delegation of the state.
However, it's enumerated. It's number 2.
It's number 2.
So it is enumerated.
And apparently
so it falls under federal purview.
It was important. I'm putting my socks on because I don't want y'all to see my feet.
Oh my God!
I feel dirty. But it's important because you're saying they already have given. They have no law. The feds coming in and establishing law is the way that they establish the authority to regulate.
That's a good point.
I.e., the Commerce Clause being used by the FBI during the during the 20s as a manner to regulate crime. You could not follow a criminal between states. The feds had no power. A criminal would jump from Indiana to Illinois to Missouri, and they were out. It was on to state police to regulate the issue. Commerce Clause was used by the FBI to establish universal jurisdiction. And since then, they've used the Commerce Clause to ram every kind of subversive control. If you create a nationwide regulated reciprocity law, federal mandate then gives permission to enter any state and regulate the application of that mandate.
I gotta give it to you. That's a damn good point. No. I agree with you that the Commerce Clause has been bastardized.
And not like they won't bastardize every other clause that they can utilize.
It's hard to disagree with that.
Okay,
it's
TSA?
Hold up.
TSA?
You're right.
I mean...
I cannot say that you're wrong there. You are absolutely right.
Now, question.
Now, here's the thing. Is there a conceivable way that whatever Senate or House bill that is drafted in order to address carry nationwide?
Yes, there is
would it need to be a law, a statute, a mandate, would it need to be more of a restoration or a reformation? Something in the words where it's not established as a statute,
and here's the thing.
Instead pointing to reinforce the Second Amendment as it was written, in word and deed.
And again, I don't claim to be an expert in law.
We're not law experts.
I'm not a lawyer or attorney. They like to differentiate.
Whatever. Go.
Here's what I'll say. There is a way. The problem becomes, and this is another reason I am against, just initially, from everything I've heard, if you create mandate or law as statute, it's then subject to interpretation by the lower courts. Okay, there's a lot of stuff right now, we won't get into it, where mandates and statutes simply get bumped up to the 6th, 7th Circuit. All you need is one activist judge, pro or against, to make a ruling. And suddenly, you have something that's being litigated, we'll bounce it to the Supreme Court. Do you know how many cases get refuted to be heard by the Supreme Court? Because the Supreme Court knows. They don't want to hear it.
Most actually.
They don't want to make a ruling.
They only take so many cases every year.
I go back, and when we talked to Dick Heller, we met and we talked to Dick Heller at the last NRA convention. We had a good talk. And even then, there's a lot of contention about the Heller case. Why? Because once you bump it up that far, once you make it statute, you're asking, limit us in interpretation. You have to remember, the purpose of government has never been to rule over people. It's been to stand back and essentially litigate out dispute of rule between states. That's why we have secondary and tertiary circuit courts.
Now, here's the question I have then. If we are to have 50 states rather set the guidelines for ownership and carrying of firearms, and then you have states like California that want to usurp the right granted to the people by the Second Amendment.
I can address
How
this right
do
here.
you address
I can address
that
it.
without affecting other states?
I can address that really easily, and I'll say this. And what are we on time here? We're in 10 minutes. All right, we'll wrap it up here. And then this is what I'll say. The issue in California, and in most states right now, where you have these big legislature battlegrounds, is 2 points. Number one, you got to get your ass up and go vote. It's a state legislature issue. If you're not active...
If you don't vote, shut the fuck up.
Because here's the thing.
For swearing.
No swearing. That's okay.
Sorry.
But honestly, NRA, ILA, you find out it's a legislature issue. It's a states' right issue. But on that, it becomes a state constitution issue. Where is your legislature? Who are you voting for? And this is where I'm against it. I support a state if the majority is anti-gun passing law. I support the state's right. It's a state legislature issue. You should be fighting it in the proper legal grounds, which is grassroots movement, make a constitutional amendment to your state constitution. Make a constitutional amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Why doesn't anybody do it? And as gun owners, we shouldn't do the same thing. We shouldn't be backdoor legislating rules that the framers set in place. Your constitution is bad in your state, fix your state constitution, or move to a better state. Free state movement. Move to the Idaho Redoubt, move to New Hampshire.
Anti-federalist. What are you going to do?
I've never been against... and here's what I'll say. Before anybody out there starts typing away, I'm not against government.
Of course.
Government has legitimate purview, legitimate mandate, and role.
Federalist Paper number 10.
Limited.
James Madison. If men were angels, government wouldn't be necessary.
Limited roles and designated roles and maintaining government within those parameter roles is what I advocate. I'm not an anarchist. I don't support no government. Government has its place. To the Constitution. It's got its place.
Anyway, we're going to try and post this, so let us know what you think.
Put in your comments, or don't. Who cares? Do what you want.
Or downvote us. I don't know. Whatever.
Long live the Republic.